rays of the sun. To dream, believe in strength, now I'm the only one. Only one. I was an ordinary boy until I broke the rules, my life destroyed. Life destroyed. Until I walk awake, scream my mind, I shout, the ground shakes. How much can I take? My mind will break. Will it break? Can I take? Can I be your superhero?
All right, how are you doing, everybody? This is my second live of the day. Thought I'd go ahead and get a jump on this one because it's a long one. I have two parts to it, and as I mentioned earlier, that I'm gonna try to do this on Saturday if I get a chance, but I might not be able to. Might have to wait till next week. But like I said earlier in my live, this is turning into something really interesting because this man's been convicted. He's been in prison, but they're looking to overturn or attempt to overturn the conviction based on the fact that the court reporter supposedly had some kind of interaction with one of the jurors that kind of messed up the process. Well, I will show you that part toward the end of the video, whenever that is. I would suggest that maybe while you're waiting for the second part, you get kind of acclimated with the case. I can run you down with a little bit of it based on what I know. This individual, Alex Murdaugh, is or was a lawyer, a very successful lawyer that came from a long family of lawyers, very prominent, very um very wealthy. Well, he had two boys, one named Buster and the other one named God, I can't think of his name. Anyways, the youngest one was out on a boat one night. Him and his friends, and they were drinking. Well, the youngest one had a drinking problem, and they were out on a boat. Paul, thank you, Justice. His name was Paul, and they were out on a boat, and somehow or another, due to Paul being intoxicated, he was being reckless with the boat. When doing so, he crashed the boat. They all got out before it sank, but one of the girls didn't make it out. She ended up drowning. So that was that. So there was a big old fiasco with that. He called his uncle. They had a history of having things cleaned up. There was another incident with the oldest son, Buster, where supposedly he was involved with killing another individual, and that kind of got swept under the under the carpet. So what ends up happening, fast forward this, is the dad was obviously having legal problems because he was embezzling money, I think, or something of that nature. And for some reason, he lured the mom and Paul down to the dog kennels and shot him with a shotgun. Well, he lied about all this. So what I'm about to walk you through with the court process is it's going to talk about the cash reports. It's going to have an FBI agent or somebody in special agent talking about the cash reports. You're going to be able to diagram it for you. I mean, it's long, but it's very, very informative because if you're following the Idaho 4 case, you have been exposed to that word cast because of the Brian Koberger. So it'll give you a chance to really understand it because he breaks it down. He's able to show it. The trial was 2 hours and something long. I'm not going to do the whole 2 hours tonight. I'll probably do an hour or so and then do another part and then another part to finish it up. The end of it is going to show you what is the latest. Okay, so I'm going to take you from the trial to what the latest stuff is. So if you don't know anything about this case, I hope that you hang in there because it's very interesting and it kind of goes hand in hand with the Idaho stuff, especially with the cash report and with the understanding of what cash really is and how it is done. And he breaks it down for you and he shows you diagrams and things like that. So you're able to really understand it. I mean, the way other people have broken it down and they've talked about it, it has never made sense to me. So hopefully this kind of simplifies it a little bit. So I'm going to be starting and stopping it. If anything else, just to repeat what he's repeated or something like that, because I don't want to get copyrighted. All right. So hang with me here. If y'all have any questions, be sure to type them in the chat. Not that I have a lot of knowledge on cast or anything like that. So, you know, don't hold that against me. Well, here we go.
Special deputy, graduated in 2017 at Saginaw Valley State University with a criminal justice degree. And then in 2017, moved to South Carolina, worked for the Department of Public Safety. In 2020, came to the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, where I am currently. Began in the undercover vice unit, worked in the undercover vice unit until October of 22, where I currently am a special agent assigned to investigative services.
All right, and that was when again?
That was October of 22 is when I had my new position.
At some point in that position in SLED Investigative Services, did you get involved in the investigation of the murders of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh at Moselle?
I did. November of 21 is when I was brought on to assist the Low Country region with this case.
November of 21 or November of 22?
21.
And let's talk a little bit more just about some of the experience you've had as a law enforcement officer. Have you had any experience with or had any training with using the FBI CAST program?
I did. I took a basic 16-hour cell site analysis course, which allowed me to use their system CAST Viz, which is what if you saw Matt Wild's presentation, the mapping system and the plotting, it allows me to use that system and kind of do a basic level operation of it.
I'm kind of curious where he just said 16 hours, okay? Didn't we hear that from that other guy in the Idaho 4K? Didn't he say that he took a training that was not very long either? So I might be mistaken. I could be getting all these cases running together, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, whatever. But what I'm thinking is this stuff, once you get trained on it, I don't know if it's about feeding the numbers into the machine, the computer, and then getting the computer to do the work, or how much knowledge you really have to have regarding understanding the readings and things like that. So it just amazes me that you don't have to go for a long period of time in order to be sufficient. A 16-hour training is not a long training at all.
And what has been your primary focus of your involvement, at least in the investigation after you got involved in November 2021? And to be fair, that was November 2021. You were not working in investigative services when Moselle event happened in June of 21. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So when you came on in November of 21, what's kind of been one of your main focuses and main assignments?
The main focus was to take all of the various forms of data. There's, a lot of phones, a lot of different data, and take all of that and put it into a readable timeline that you could start from, the beginning of the day to the end of the day and see everything with all those different phones and different, media sources all in one document.
All right. Stand by for me just real quick. And I'm going to show you what's already been admitted into evidence as a defense exhibit 60 that was entered a long time ago in this trial. And do you recognize that? It's already in evidence.
I do.
All right. And what is that? Tell the jury what that is, please.
This would have been a rough draft or working draft of my timeline. I have a date of 1/12/23 at 3 p.m. was an updated time on this.
All right. And that was, who prepared that document though that was put in by the defense?
This was prepared by myself.
And was that provided to the defense a week or so or sometime prior to trial?
It was.
All right. And on that particular document, does it say that it is a working draft?
It does on the top here. It's going to have in yellow working draft. And then as you go through the document, it's going to have the same yellow on the top working draft and draft across the document.
All right. And as you have, how long have you been working on this document right here?
Roughly about a year on this document.
All right. And as new data came in, new data has been analyzed from various sources that have been put forward to this jury. Has that been incorporated into your timeline here?
It has.
All right. And since the
Okay, so he's been working on that working draft for about a year. So I'm not sure how long that Mowry guy had been working on his, because I really didn't watch that. Court usually bores me, especially those kind of hearings. But if y'all know what he said or what he testified to, you already know. I don't need to tell you. But my point in this is there's like 3 of these packets. So this was the working draft, and then there's going to be another one, and then there's going to be the final one. So the fact that this was a working situation throughout a whole year, I mean, that's a lot of stuff right there.
time that this was initially prepared, has there been additional information added to it, and that document continued to be worked on?
There has.
All right. And has that been provided to the defense as well?
It has.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as States 520 and see if you recognize this document.
I do. This is going to be the full timeline. This is going to be the latest copy.
And I'm going to show you what's marked as 519. And do you recognize that document?
I do.
All right, and tell the jury what that is.
This is going to be a condensed timeline of this document here. Instead of having the whole day, it's going to have roughly from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. on June 7th,
2021?
2021.
Your Honor, this time I would offer States 519 and 520 into evidence. No objection.
Yeah, I admit it.
All right, we're going to get back to those in a second. All right, now you mentioned before that you had some training in using the FBI CAS program. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And during the course of this investigation, actually fairly recently, did additional information come in related to what you've been working on?
That is correct.
And explain that to the jury. What information came in?
So on Friday, I received a call,
Which Friday?
would have been last Friday, from Attorney General Conrad that GM discovered some new data. I initially did a search warrant back in March of last year. No data was returned to us from OnStar. We get a call saying that they have data and that they're going to be sending it to me. I received an email on this past Saturday with 3 Excel files of data from GM.
All right. And tell the jury generally what was that data?
There was a lot of data in it. Mostly it was a lot of latitude and longitude plots. There was speed data in there and a lot of data that when you start your car up, you might see like your engine lights and all that, those codes and stuff. A lot of the codes was on the data.
All right. And for what vehicle was this for?
This is for the 2021 Suburban driven by Alex MURDAUGH.
Had GM previously responded to law enforcement inquiry that there was no such data?
That is correct. All we got was basic subscriber data for OnStar.
And when had they responded with that information?
I believe it was March 18th
Of
of 2022.
2022.
Yes.
And then during the course of this trial,
So you can see how people they believe that whenever something comes out of the blue, like the data that they presented later on after they had told this individual that there was no data, and once they found new data, people will jump on that and be like, well, they planted that or they made that up, or something sounds fishy because the initial time they said they didn't find anything. Well, have you ever, I'm not an IT guy, I'm not a car guy, I'm not any of that stuff, but my analytical mind says whenever you're looking for evidence when it comes to electronics or things like that, it's going to take you a while to incorporate everything that you need to incorporate. And you might make a mistake the first time around. You might run a test that nothing comes back. But after that, you might run another test and get all this other information, as he stated right there, with mostly longitude and latitude coordinates. So, nothing doesn't necessarily mean that there wasn't anything that they found. It might have not been anything that was usable in determining the locations.
they contacted and said, oh, wait, we found something.
That is correct.
All right. And since that time, have you downloaded that data into the CAS program and analyzed it in that fashion?
I have the CAS data is pretty much a tool that you can take different latitude, longitude, and different kind of data points, put it in the system in an Excel file, and it pretty much plots it and paints a nice picture for you.
All right. And you have you worked in this case as you've been synthesizing the data from various sources? Have you worked or synthesized the data that came from Engineer Falfusky with the FBI?
Yes, sir.
And remind the jury who Falfusky is again, please.
He is a vehicle engineer from the FBI out of Washington, D.C. And he's the one that took the telemetry unit out of Alex MURDAUGH Suburban, and he took all the data and recreated that, the year-long process to get all the data extracted that he previously testified on.
All right. And is that telemetry data generally synthesized or summarized along with other data in your timelines that are admitted in evidence?
Yes, it is.
Can you compare for the jury the difference between what the telemetry that Engineer Falfusky did and the OnStar data that GM recently provided?
The biggest difference you're going to see is on the telemetry data. If you remember, there was that Excel spreadsheet with all the different colors on it. It would show vehicle going into drive or park, moving, propulsion, that kind of stuff. The data we got back from OnStar is mostly a lot of latitude and longitude and speed and different kind of codes and whatnot. There wasn't really any location data in the FBI data. I don't believe there was any for that day. I believe it was all before. But we have mostly, GPS coordinates and whatnot. That's the biggest difference that you're going to see between the reports.
All right. And was the OnStar data recently received generally consistent with the telemetry data that had been developed by the FBI and Falfusky?
It was
Just more specific.
just more specific.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as States 524 to this trial and see if you recognize this document.
I do.
All right, and tell the jury what this is, please.
This was a presentation I created that is based on the GM OnStar data that was received last week for 6/7 of 21 for a 2021 Chevrolet Suburban.
Your Honor, at this time, I would offer in the evidence States 524. No objection, Your Honor.
Submitted.
So basically, this is what happened in a trial. You know, you're trying to explain how you got to certain coordinates. You're trying to explain how you got, how certain vehicles were tracked, along with your expertise and how long you've been doing these things. And you're presenting the evidence into the court case. You're asking for the court to admit the evidence in order to continue guilt or innocence. I thought this was so interesting. I mean, especially with everything that the Idaho stuff's coming up. What do y'all think?
All right, I'm gonna, if I could have a computer input, please. And I'm gonna go ahead and put Exhibit 524 up on the screen, the one we just admitted.
This is where it gets to. If you're in the chat, press 1. Let me know who's all in here.
Make sure that's working. All right, is this the 524 the exhibit we just put into evidence?
That is correct.
All right, and that's your name up there, and it's got the CAS program and everything. Is that right?
That is correct.
All right, moving on to this next slide. And can you see all right up there?
I can.
All right, if your little screen becomes hard to see, just let me know, and we can have you come down here and look at the big one. All right, what's up on this slide? Tell us what this represents to the jury.
What you're going to see up on the slide is going to be 3 file names that were received from GM. These are all 3 Excel files. This is what they were labeled to us from GM.
And what does this slide look like?
This is an overview. Do you mind if I step down?
Yeah.
Went up. This is going to be an overview slide here. Top point is going to be Moselle, the Moselle House property. Bottom left, we're going to have Hampton. Far right is going to be Alameda. There are 4,820 data points that make up these lines here. When you zoom in a couple more slides, you're going to see the individual dots. This is kind of like an overlay of all of those dots.
Right.
But just for reference, that's where we're at in the map.
And just very quickly, tell the jury when we're talking about these dots, is that what the CAS report did? Is plot the dots based on the data provided by GM OnStar?
That is correct. Each dot is going to represent a latitude and longitude.
Did you have to manually enter in all 4,820, or how does that work?
I did not. The nice thing about the CAS system is it takes the Excel, you put it all in an Excel spreadsheet, and it does all that for you. Kind of like Google Earth would do in comparison.
All right, this next slide, what is that?
This is the same slide. It's just showing on a different, the last one was like a Google Earth kind of view photo. This is just a regular like map photo. It kind of just says, the location's a little bit easier to read. You got Hampton, Alameda, then you can see Islandton.
All right. Go on to this slide. Is this just a general representation where you can see some of the individual dots?
This is going to be the general overview of Moselle. Each little dot is going to either have a single set of data points or multiple set of data points. And this is for the whole day. This is not just for a certain time period. This is going to be for the whole day of June 7th, 2021.
And for those of you that don't know about the case, Moselle is the residence in which the family lived. Up toward the corner there, the reddish looking building, red and white looking building by the hedges, that is the dog kennels. where the murders took place. So these are representations of data point throughout the day that collaborate with the movement of the individual in question.
All right. And then again, generally, what does this represent?
This is going to represent in Hampton around the law firm. Each dot is either a single set of data points or multiple set of data points. It's just kind of zoomed in photo from what we saw previously.
And that's the defendant's former law firm?
That is correct.
All right. And what does this represent?
This is going to be the Alameda property that's been referred to previously. And this is just showing a overview of all the dots for that day.
All right, we're about to get in some slides that have very specific references to dots. And just generally, what are you about to go through with the jury as the specific data points that you're about to relate to them?
So for this presentation, we're going to go through all the different drives that occurred that day. You're going to have a data point in a slide that's going to show you the beginning, a couple slides during the drive, and then at the end. And we're going to have a couple different drives that we'll be walking through.
All right, now we're at this slide. What's the title of this slide?
This is Alex leaving for work.
All right, and tell the jury, what image do we see right here on the screen?
So what you're looking at, this is going to be the property 4147 Moselle Road. This is going to be the main entrance. And you can see underneath the little box is going to be the house. You're going to see on the date, it's going to say June 7th, 2021. And this plot is going to be 120647.
All right, is that what time the Suburban got underway, according to the GM OnStar data?
That is correct. It does match up.
All right. Moving to this next slide, what does this represent?
This next slide is representing his vehicle making a right onto Moselle Road during his drive.
All right, what time is that?
The time is 12:07:40 p.m.
All right, come on down here if you would, just real quick, and explain to the jury this box, and in particular, if there's a little arrow on this box, point that out to them so that they can understand specifically what's being referenced with the blue and white box.
So anytime you see a blue box here, it's a little hard to see, but the little kind of triangle down here, that's where it's pointing to on which red dot it is referring to. So anytime you see the box, look for that little triangle, and that's going to tell you the area that the vehicle, the latitude, longitude correlates with.
All right, I'll have you borrow the stick real quick. So this little blue triangle right there is what we're talking about?
That is correct.
And it's pointing to that little red dot there. Is that right?
That's correct.
And we're not going to go through all 4,820 dots, but just representative dots of these various trips. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right.
I just want to point out quickly, you might see a couple other data points that could be for another trip. Sometimes they have the same latitude and longitude, but different times. So you might see a couple different data points, but that's an explanation for that.
All right. And then the one that's highlighted, though, is the one that's the information is being referred to right there. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And right here we see what?
So what they're talking about, this little bitty point right here, this is where you get the longitude and latitude, the date, the time, and obviously they're 1 to 4. So they're going to actually show you how each movement was recorded.
What?
You see June 7th, 2021,
All right.
12:07:40 p.m.
All right. Thank you. All right. Before we move on to the next slide, what's the car doing at this point in time?
The car is moving.
All right. And what location is it? Just generally an orientation to the property?
Moselle Road coming out of that main gate,
That driveway?
main driveway.
Moving on to the next one, what does this represent?
This is 12:07:42, and this is representing, you're going to see a mile per hour is going to be the new line that just showed up. And this is showing 12 miles an hour the vehicle's traveling.
Generally on these blue boxes is the little arrow at the bottom. Is that kind of in the center bottom in most of the?
I mean, this is not to be confused with the cell phone. This is actually the OnStar that they're talking about. So if any other vehicles in the other cases had any kind of vehicle tracking or anything like that, then they would be able to show a lot of this as well. Like you were saying, it's down to how fast the vehicle was going, 12 miles an hour, the longitude, latitude, and the date and the time. It is so specific.
These little blue boxes, blue and white boxes?
That is correct.
All right. And some of the entries have a miles per hour rating. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And that's being recorded by the vehicle and by GM OnStar?
And it's being uploaded to their servers.
All right. And so what was the speed of the defendant's vehicle at this time?
Approximately 12 miles an hour.
Now, on here, it's in reference to miles per hour because we're Americans. But the data that you got, what unit was it in?
Kilometers.
All right. And so did you convert that data to miles per hour?
In an Excel spreadsheet, yes.
All right. And just plugged in what the conversion is and it converted to miles per hour.
Yep, you do the equal sign, then you do the conversion, and it converts for you.
All right. All right, going on to this next slide. Is this still on the trip that morning to the or that afternoon to the law firm?
That is correct.
All right, and very quickly tell the jury where we're at.
We are still on Moselle Road. We're past the Godley Farms Road, which would be another reference point.
And that's the residence up here at the top.
That is correct.
All right, that's the kennels way up at the very top.
That is correct.
All right, what is the date and time of this reading?
12:08:30, and that is showing approximately 55 miles an hour.
Okay. All right, tell me about this next one.
This is still on the drive to the law firm. This is showing at 12:16 on the dot, and we're showing approximately 60 miles an hour driven.
All right. And where is the arrow on this particular one?
So on this box, the arrow is actually going to be on top, and it's pointing to one of the data points.
The speed again?
Approximately 60 miles an hour.
Going on to slide 13 for the record, what does this reflect?
This is reflecting coming into Hampton to the law firm. And this is actually, if you look, it's pretty much right on top of the law firm. It's 12:21:37, and we have no speed associated.
All right, and then the next slide, slide 14.
This is 12:24:06 with no speed reported. This is when he's arriving. This is the last data point I could find.
All right, so he's arrived at work at that time, correct?
I mean, I think it's pretty interesting that you're able to to be seen down to the minute. I mean, a lot of people don't like that. A lot of people feel that their rights are being infringed on by being able to be tracked like this. But if you're ever in an accident or something, they can pinpoint where you're at very fast, So it's a double-edged sword. Whatever your preference is or whatever you think about this, that's your preference, right? But for me, I don't mind it. I don't mind it at all.
That is correct.
12:46.
12:24:06.
Going to this next slide, explain to the jury what this is, and we're slide 15 for the
So after each drive, we're going to have a slide that's going to show a max speed from all the data sets on Excel. The max speed for his drive from Moselle to the law firm that morning was 12:13:19. The max speed was 65.8 miles per hour, and the average speed of that whole drive was 37.24 miles an hour, and that time was at 12:13:19 during his drive.
All right, we're moving now to slide 16. Tell the jury what this represents.
This one's going to represent Alex leaving work at the law firm, heading to his house. It shows at 6:24:18, and it shows him going 8 miles an hour, just starting to leave.
All right, PM
PM,
and the speed
approximately 8 miles an hour.
going on slide 17.
This one's showing at 6:26:54 PM. It's showing his Suburban going approximately 42 miles an hour on his drive home. The arrow is going to be on the top right.
And
It
the
might
speed.
be cut off a little bit. 42 miles an hour.
All right, and then is that the arrow right there?
That is correct.
All right, at the top,
The top of the screen.
about 42 miles an hour.
That is correct.
Slide 18, what does this reflect?
This is going to reflect at Alex arriving home at 6:42:54 with a miles per hour of 0. This is one of the last data points that without speed.
6:42 PM arriving back at the residence,
That is correct.
and
So you can say, I wasn't there. I got there later than what the crime happened. but this is like right down to the minute. The speed your vehicle's going, wow.
The arrow is pointing to what?
The residence, a little bit to the side, but it's the residence right there.
All right, and tell the jury now on slide 19, what does this represent?
So this is going to be from his drive home from the law firm to Moselle. It represents at 6:34:01 during his drive. The max speed obtained was 54.4 miles per hour. The average speed during this drive was 41.39 miles an hour. And you can see the location somewhere off of, I believe, 63.
Driving home, what was his max speed?
54.4 miles per hour was the max speed driving home.
All right, slide 20.
All right, so now we're at where Alex is leaving for Alameda. This is going to be 9:07:06 p.m.
Okay. And again, we'll go through the timeline in a bit, but is this generally consistent with some of the telemetry data that Falfosky did?
It is
Suburban goes underway at what time?
9:07:06 according to this data.
Moving on to the next slide.
Like
Where's
previous
the Suburban- Where's the Suburban at this point?
Like previous slides, this is going to be the Suburban pulling out onto Moselle Road, coming right out of the main entrance, going about 15 miles an hour. This is going to be at 9:08:06.
What do we have right here?
This is going to be 9:08:18 with speeds approximately 37 miles an hour.
Where's the Suburban heading at this point?
Towards Alameda.
All right, slide 23. We have a reference point here. Can you explain what that is to the jury?
So the orange dot, that's going to represent approximately where Maggie Murdaugh's phone was located the following day on June 8th, 2021.
All right, and do we have a time reference for the Suburban at this time?
We do. It's going to be 9:08:36 seconds, and it's showing a speed of 42 miles an hour.
Now we're getting good.
Moving on to the next one. Tell the jury what this is.
In the grayish white looking box, you can still see the little circle where it says Maggie Murdaugh's phone location. And right under it's where the pinpoint's going to be. It's going to be 9:08:36, 42 miles an hour.
Next slide, 25. Slide 25.
The upper halfway portion of that box, you're going to see the circle again, the orange circle. That's going to be Maggie Murdaugh's phone. And at 9:08:42, we have the Suburban traveling approximately 45 miles an hour.
After passing that location, does the defendant's vehicle start to accelerate?
It does.
Going to slide 26. Tell us what this references.
So we also have Maggie Murdaugh's phone location. This is just another data point. There's several throughout the road. This one is showing 9:08:54, 44 miles an hour.
Slide 27.
This is going to show you another overview of this data point in location to Maggie Murdaugh's phone. 9:08:54, 44 miles an hour.
Slide 28.
This one's further down the road past Godley Farms Road, just for a reference point. This is 9:09:06, traveling 48.6 miles per hour.
Slide 29.
This is another data point in reference to where the phone location is. 9:09:18 p.m., traveling 49 miles per hour.
See, I think it's interesting that they're going to be able to, in other trials that currently are going on, if the cell phone pings are required in those trials, they're going to be able to tell if you were walking, if you were driving, how fast you were going, where your vehicle was, or, were you on foot, what your location was. That phone can tell a lot. I don't know if her phone was on or off, but I'm assuming it was on.
And slide 30.
This is going to be another data point at 9:09:18, traveling approximately 52 miles an hour.
Slide 31.
This is also going to be another one on Moselle Road, coming up to Dobson Road. It's going to be 9:24 p.m., traveling approximately 52 miles an hour.
And then slide 32.
This is also going to be another data point on that road, 9:09:42, traveling approximately 54 miles an hour on Moselle Road.
All right, going to slide 33, has our sort of map orientation changed?
It has, this is still on the drive to Alameda. I believe this is going to be 63 or Snyder's Highway or Walterboro Highway. This is at 9:13:30 p.m., showing a speed of 68 miles an hour on that drive to Alameda.
All right.
You know, something interesting too is whenever you're looking at this right here, it may seem very trivial, but it's so detailed that, you know, you can't lie about it. You know, you can try, but you can't lie about it. And that's interesting to know whenever these trials are taking place, that whenever they do the pings and everything like that, the cash report, that they're able to differentiate between GPS and actually the bouncing of the towers as you will.
And I'm going back to slide 3. I'll do that real quick. And the slide that we were just seeing when the orientation changes, can you come down real quick and kind of describe generally what we were looking at when we started, and then the where we're at on that slide that we were just about to look at?
All right, so where we started on this drive would have been right up here, 4147 Moselle Road. I'm sure everyone can see. 4147 Moselle Road. This would have been Moselle Road that we just showed all those data points. Would have made a right onto Dobson Road and then a right onto 63 Snyder's Highway. It's approximately somewhere around here on Snyder's Highway where that data point we just looked at.
All right, returning to slide 33. All right.
And right there is going to be approximately where the data point is at.
Okay. And what's the speed there?
68.7 miles per hour.
Going on to slide 34.
This is going to be at 9:14:36, showing approximate speed of 69.4 miles per hour. It's going to be on the top portion.
All right, moving on to slide 35.
This is going to be at 9:16:48, showing approximately 70 miles an hour. It's going to be the top portion of your screen here, coming into Varnville.
All right, and down at the bottom center of the screen, what is that? Right here.
That is going to be the Alameda property, and just a reference, this is going to be coming into Varnville.
All right here, what do we have on slide 36?
This is going to be the Alameda property. You can kind of see it behind the other record part, but it's showing at 9:22:06. The Suburban's pulling, making a left into the Alameda property.
Slide 37, what do we see here? First of all, orient the jury as to what the map image reflects, and then describe the data point, please.
So the map image is going to reflect, you're going to make a left into the driveway. There's a railroad track, I believe here. It's a curved driveway coming in, and then right here is going to be the house. There's a little carport right here, and then the driveway is this whitish part that you see on your screen.
All right, and then up here, generally in the property, we can see a roof and that sort of thing. What generally are those?
Those are going to be some outbuildings on the property. The trees are there's a decent amount of trees right here, but there's, I believe, 2 out.
You know, it's interesting to me that, you know, when we're talking other cases, people often say, well, they don't have anything, or they only have this amount of evidence, or the evidence does not show anything. Well, when you get in trial and you start looking at these pieces that you haven't been shown, you know nothing about, everything starts to make sense. Even if you don't believe it, even if your mind does not allow you to believe it, you cannot deny certain things that are being shown to you. Like right here, we can't deny that this man was going to this property. That is shown dot by dot, the data points, how fast he was going, the longitude, latitude. we can say, well, he was never there. He said he was never there. But look, you're telling me these data points lie? You're telling me that somewhere, somehow, people just made these up? Because that's what people are going to say. They made it up. They didn't even have the full cast report, blah, blah, blah.
Outbuildings right here.
This white area right here just above the house, what is that?
That's going to be where you would park. It's a paved area in front of the carports.
Where do the data points reflect the Suburban going, though, when it arrives?
The data points for the Suburban, it looks like it went toward like a little bit into the grass, closer to the wood line over here. And that's going to be at 92239.
Closer to the wood line and the outbuildings?
That'd be correct.
All right. And again, what time is the arrival at Alameda?
92239. And this is just, so this right here is going to be a better overview without the
box.
The box. You can see right here is going to be the driveway leading in. This is where a carport would be, where the vehicles would be parked. And then this is the main house here. Then you have your outbuildings.
You see it, right?
Right here, we have kind of a line of data points right there in the grassy area behind the house.
We do.
All right, going on to slide 39, tell the jury what those calculations represent, please.
So this is going to represent the drive from Moselle to Alameda. During that drive, the Suburban reached a max speed of 74.4 miles per hour during that drive and averaged 51.94 miles per hour. And this is the data point with the highest speed obtained.
Okay, so if you're the jury and you're listening to this, he already told you how fast he was going, the maximum speed going to work, which was 54.6, I think, and the average speed was like 34 point something else. Well, he's obviously going way faster going to this property. So what would that tell you as a juror?
Was that top speed higher than any speed he achieved when he went to work over that day?
That is correct.
Is that average speed higher than any average speed he had when he went to work that day
That is correct.
or returned from work?
That's correct. Want to stay down here?
You can go back up. Back. That max speed again is what on the trip to Alameda?
74.4 miles per hour.
And the time again that he
9
arrived?
At Alameda,
Yes.
I believe it's going to be 9:20.
Let me back up.
You go back.
Or back up to?
9:22:39. So 9:22:39. He reached his max speed at 9:14:13.
On June 7th, 2021 at 9:22 p.m. is it dark?
That is correct.
All right, we've gone on to slide 40. Please tell the jury what this represents.
This is going to represent at 9:43:18. This is when we first saw movement. And this would be Alex leaving Alameda en route back to 4147 Moselle Road. It's showing approximately 2 miles an hour.
All right, and the time again?
9:43:18.
The arrival time that you just testified?
That's correct.
What was the arrival time? That you
9:22,
testified? And he's leaving at what time?
9:43,
So approximately how long?
20 minutes.
Going on to slide 41, let me ask you this. Does the data reflect that that the car pauses for a period of time while in that driveway area of Alameda?
It does, about halfway between on the driveway.
Come on down and show the jury if you will. I just sent you back. I'm sorry.
So halfway during on this. So this is a driveway right here. So this is the driveway just for reference. We see what looks like a data point, I believe, right here. And if we click on that data point, it's going to be about a minute until this data point will show up leaving the property.
All right. And then on slide 41, we have a, what's the time stamp that you have on that one? And show the arrow to the jury too, please.
Yep, 9:45:22, and the arrow is going to be all the way down at the bottom, right across the railroad tracks, turning onto Yemassee Highway.
At 9:45.
That is correct, 9:45:22.
All right, moving on to slide 42. Please tell the jury what this data point represents.
This slide's going to show you the drive back from Alameda to Moselle. This is just a data point on Yemassee Highway. It's 9:46:01, and on this one, doesn't have a speed.
Going to slide 43.
This is also going
Orient the jury and tell them the data point, please.
So on the bottom, you have Alameda, going through Varnville, and then heading up to Moselle. This is at 9:51:30. This is showing approximate speed of 74 miles an hour. It's going to be the top portion of that box.
That's the arrow at the top center.
That's correct.
So he's still driving pretty fast, if you ask me. I don't know about y'all.
Slide 44. Please tell the jury what this data point represents.
Top of the map, you're going to see Moselle. This is going to be on 63. This is going to be at 9:54:24. We have approximately 70 miles an hour.
And the arrow is located where?
It's going to be on the bottom.
Slide 45. What do you have right here?
This is going to be at 9:59:18. This is Moselle Road coming up to Godley Farms Road for reference. Top portion on the left is going to be the Moselle property. This is at 9:59:18, showing a speed of 57 miles an hour.
All right, we've moved on to slide 46. Tell me about that one, please.
So this is going to be the arrival into Moselle. This is showing 10 o'clock on the dot, showing 7 miles an hour, making a left into the main driveway.
10 o'clock on the dot.
That is correct.
And slide 47.
This is about 30 seconds later. This is 10 o'clock. This is about halfway down the driveway of the main house, showing 22 miles an hour.
All right, slide 48. Tell the jury about the calculations reflected on this slide.
So this is going to be from his drive back from Alameda to Moselle Road. The max speed that was obtained during that drive was at 9:51:43 seconds, was 80 miles an hour. The average speed was 46.52 miles an hour during that drive.
Is that average speed going to also, though, can include that minute where the car paused at the driveway in Alameda?
That's correct.
The top speed was what?
80.16 miles an hour.
And at this time period, would it have been dark outside?
It would.
Let me ask you this. You're a law enforcement officer that works in this area of the state, correct?
That is correct.
And have you, during the course of your law enforcement career, have to respond to emergencies or call for services and that sort of thing?
That is correct.
All right. And this particular road that we've been talking about, these roads, have they recently been paved?
They have.
And was that after the murders occurred on June 7th, 2021?
They were.
Or were you familiar with the condition of the roads and what they were like on that route prior to them being repaved?
I am.
All right. And tell the jury what running code is. If you have an emergency or a call for service, an emergency, what is running code?
Running code is where you activate your blue lights and siren, and you go above the posted speed limit at a safe fashion to get to your arrival in a safe manner.
That's when the cops turn on the lights and they're heading to the scene.
Yep, blue lights and sirens.
All right. And you're traveling as fast as you possibly can and still be reasonably safe. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And have you had call prior to this road being paved to run code down that road?
That's correct.
All right. Would you at night, or did you ever at night, on the roads as they existed at the time of June 7th, 2021, run in code with your lights on, run 80 miles an hour down that road?
I would not, no.
And why not? Tell the jury why not.
Due to the time of night, the heavy deer population out there, as everyone could probably see, I mean, deer will run out all the time. And especially with all your lights, it attracts the deer. So it's actually worse having your blue lights on sometimes. The deer actually are kind of attracted to that light. And then also the road conditions, the road was, was a lot of potholes. And
was the defendant's top speeds on both the trip to and from Alameda in excess of any max speed in his trips previous in the day?
That'd be correct. Posted speed limit is 55 on 63.
All right, we've gone on now to slide 49, and tell the jury what this represents.
This is going to be a timestamp of 10:05:06 p.m. And this is showing Alex MURDAUGH leaving for the kennels.
And where's the dot on this particular slide?
The dot's going to be on the bottom towards the middle, right by the house.
Moving on to slide 50, tell me what this represents.
This is also showing the drive over to the kennels. The timestamp of this is 10:05:39.
And where's the arrow?
The arrow is going to be on the bottom. You kind of see it by the field.
All right, going on to slide 51, what does this represent?
This is just saying the max speed was obtained 28 miles an hour at 10:05:49 during that trip.
Okay. And then slide 52.
This is showing the Suburban arriving at the kennels 10:05:57 p.m.
And backing up still on slide 52, can you remind the jury, and we'll talk more about this with the timeline in a minute, but generally what time was the 911 call?
10:06. I do not know the seconds.
All right. And to your recollection, during the 911 call, did the defendant say he was returning back to the residence during that 911 call?
He did.
All right. And so we're on slide 53. What does this reflect?
This would be him heading back to the house around 10:11:54.
All right. Slide 54.
This is just also showing him driving back to the house at 10:12:18 p.m.
So let me ask you, you go out to the kennels and you find your wife with a shotgun blast. She's bleeding out. Your son has been shot as well. You call 911 and then you start heading back to your house. Aren't you going to try to do life-saving, first aid, CPR, trying to stop the bleeding if you can? Aren't you going to do that? Or what would make somebody head back to the house?
Slide 55.
Any thoughts?
Just another slide at 10:12:30 p.m. showing 32 miles an hour.
And where's the dot?
The dot is going to be on the bottom, and it's going to be on the main drive to the house.
Slide 56.
This is going to be at 10:13:54, showing 2 miles an hour, and it's right next to the house.
All right. Slide 57.
This is just showing on that max speed from going from the kennels back to the house was at 10:12:19, and the Suburban reached 35.78 miles an hour approximately.
Slide 58.
This is just showing the drive back down to the kennels. This is during the 911 call at 10:14:30 p.m., showing approximately 24 miles an hour.
So, if you went back to the house, knowing what you know about this crime, that these were shot with a shotgun, do you think he possibly went back to the house to put the shotgun up and then went back to the kennels?
And then the final slide in this exhibit, what is that?
This is just showing the max speed at 10:14:25 of 30 miles an hour during that drive.
Does that complete your placing of those GM OnStar data points into the CAS program and these slides that you relate to the jury?
It does.
Your Honor, I'm about to move on to another exhibit that's lengthy. This might be a good time. I would request or suggest a break at this time.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a break at this time. Please do not discuss the case. Very well.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right here because it has been an hour and they took a break. So the whole time of this video is 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 19 seconds. We're at 41:49. So I will continue this on my next live. I hope that you enjoyed the testimony because it is quite interesting whenever you're thinking about other cases. You know, sometimes you hear about the court process. Sometimes you hear about, how it goes and all these things, but you don't realize it until you actually sit through a court process. It is it is interesting to me how while you're in the court, you have so much of the evidence that's being presented after the fact. People are going to be like, wow. Because it seems to me like in some of the cases that I have discussed lately, mostly the Idaho 4, it seems to me that some people visualize that the only evidence they have is the PCA. Okay, so they're going to get in there and they're going to read the PCA. That's not how it's going to happen. That's not how it's going to happen at all. Yeah, it's kind of long. I want to do it when I'm not about to pass out. You know what I mean? Because I start making mistakes. I start getting copyright. I start doing all that. I apologize, but I will definitely let you know when I'm going to do the second part because this is interesting to me. And I just want to see how all this information is put together in the trial to show that they can't be manipulated. How it can't be, well, the LE didn't get it right. Um, the machine was wrong. You know, you were glued to this when it came out. See, I started reading about it and watching videos and stuff, and I even was gonna do some, but I never did. I don't know why I didn't. I guess the Idaho 4 is a pull on you that is like no other. I don't know how you didn't see it coming either. He was embezzling money, or he wasn't a good guy. That whole family, since they've had money for so long, they felt like they were above the law. They were able to either lie themselves out of accountability, or just throw money somewhere and make things go away. And that is eventually your karma catches up to you. It's terrible. Um, but I hope that they don't grant him another trial. What would be worst if you know he got set free? What's even worse about this case, I would suggest that you go watch either on Netflix or even on YouTube. Go watch the documentary because there is so much that happened with this family. Like their housekeeper died, and they thought that Paul might have had something to do with it, or the mom might have had something to do with it. I mean, it was one thing after the other, and then it's like then the mom and the son get killed. So it's like what is really going on? Yes, he was very arrogant. As a lawyer, I guess Alex felt he could get away with it. The video of the kennel that clearly picks up Alex's voice is what did him in. Can no longer deny he was there. Yeah, he was trying to say he wasn't at the kennel, that he found them that way. But due to the cast report and the telephone stuff, um, it showed otherwise. And I'm glad. I'm glad that it showed otherwise and it got him convicted. But I didn't see people coming out for his innocence. I didn't see arguments on YouTube about his innocence or guilt. Did you, Jeff? I mean, I know you've been in chats for a while. Did you notice any arguments about innocence or guilt, or even blaming the family or anything like that? Did you ever encounter any of that? How about you, Rondi? I don't know how long you've been chatting, but did y'all encounter any of that? Kind of like what we see now in these other cases? I mean, people have such contempt for the families. I don't get it, man. Like, what is your position in the fight? Pro dolls, yeah. I don't know any pro dogs. Is that what you call them? Probably. Okay. I'm gonna dig deeper into this because it's a long case to really present, to really do it justice. And I want to kind of do something different because this case has a lot of intrigue. It has a lot of ups and downs, and some of it's unbelievable. Some of it, just like the Idaho 4, you would think, okay, well, who's covering this up? Is there something behind the scenes? Not that I believe that the Idaho 4 case has been covered up. Don't get it twisted. But I suggest that if you are watching this on replay, or if you're watching it live, that you go check out the documentary. That way, you kind of understand um, what I'm presenting here. Alex even hired a guy to shoot him in the head, but the guy missed. Wow. Wow. See what I mean? See what I mean? It's like you just can't make this stuff up. You can't make this stuff up. It's like people go to great lengths to preserve their image sometimes. I didn't know about that part, Jeff, but maybe I can even put you on panel the next time I'm up here if you got a little time and you can give your understanding of the case. Ray, how are you doing? I watched the whole trial live and saw many documentaries. Awesome. I think you were trying to get sympathy for his situation or figured his family would get insurance money with his death. Most definitely. But that Buster Murdaugh is not any more innocent, I believe, than his dad. What do you think, Ray? Do you think Buster killed that kid? You think he was part of that? Because supposedly Buster was having a bisexual relationship with this kid, and the kid was kind of like, I guess he was gonna tell it, and next thing you know, the kid ends up dead. Okay. I mean, it just weird how all of it goes together in that weirdness. Something maybe Buster had something to do with the death of that Smith kid. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, then I heard it was Alex. So Alex might have killed that kid. Wow. See, this is going to be a good case to take our minds off the Idaho. I believe that we finally found something that we can go back into, and because it's coming back around, and I want to present it in a good way where people get the gist of it, and we can have a good time talking about it. Yes, Stephen Smith. In the South somewhere. I think. Don't give me the lion. I think maybe Tennessee, Kentucky. I don't remember. It's been a while since I had looked this up. It's a little community though where they pretty much ran the town because of their influence of South Carolina. There you go. South Carolina. So it's a small area where they ran the town because of their fathers and grandfathers and uncles. They came from a family of lawyers and judges, and when you come from a family of that, you have a lot of secrets, I'm sure. So it's an interesting case to really dabble in, and I hope y'all come along for the ride because I want to do something different for a while. But I need to get in bed. I thought I'd get on here and go ahead and get this started before the weekend because I know how long it's going to be. And I want to just break it down in little bitty parts. Yeah, there's the deaths of the housemaid, the girlfriend of Paul on the boat, Stephen Smith, Alex's wife and son. Yeah, there's a lot of deaths surrounding this family. So, I mean, that's a lot of people dead surrounding this family. So, I hope y'all enjoyed that. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? I hope you can because I can dig it. My name is 12 Gauge and I am your host, 12 Gauge Investigative. Maestro, cue that music.